Hello and welcome to the Roughneck Minute, a Movies by Minute podcast where we go over the movie Starship Troopers 1 minute at a time. I'm one of your hosts, Matthew.
And I'm your other host, Johann.
And we're at minute 60. Guys, we've made it an hour into the movie. This minute begins with the Vikings getting ready to release and ends with the Vikings dodging plasma. But yeah, so the Vikings are getting they're getting sent out on their little gangways or whatever the heck they want to call them. And they're moving out.
I think it's weird that they have like that high whistle tone as they're being dropped.
Mm-hmm.
I know when I was younger, I thought this was cool.
Well, they're not being dropped just yet. Oh, yeah, there we go. Yeah,
but you hear that high whistle as they go down.
Yes.
It never used to faze me at all until I watched Firefly.
Mm-hmm.
And like when they blow up that ship in space and it makes no sound. And I remember being blown away just like, oh my God, of course there's no sound.
Yeah.
So now, like when I was a kid, like this never used to bother me. I thought it was kind of cool. As I grew up and got introduced to Firefly, now this bugs me.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's definitely for sound effects. I mean, this whole entire scene would have been kind of neat if it was like, it's like the beginning of Star Trek, the new one, or the remake, with Chris Pine and how like,
everything's always about Star Trek with Matt.
I know, but no, at the very beginning they don't have anything going on. It's just a quiet thing, and you hear the beep 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 kind of thing. Yeah, it's like that. Like this would honestly, I'd kind of want to redo this scene myself, quiet, but just the music in the background to see how it would be. Just because honestly, I think it'd still be kind of cool.
Just get a Lego set.
Ooh,
just
I
do
could
it
do
yourself.
that. Speaking of the ships, actually, I'm at 5911. We get different versions of the ships, actually. I remember how in the past couple of episodes I was talking about how there are different variations of the Corvettes.
Yeah.
So the one that's right in front of us, 195, actually, does have that open deck for the Thunderbolts. But yeah, so like in the background, you'll see there's another ship that looks a little longer, actually, but it has cargo containers up top.
Yeah, and it looks like this one, where there's an open port. I guess it's a multi-use. Either you can put something on it, or you can put the ships there.
Yeah, and the one below it, that one kind of tan-looking one, actually has a cargo ships as well on there too, but it looks a little stouter, like a little fatter. Now, that may be like a trickery of the camera and whatnot, but there are different variations of the Corvette.
I'm just assuming that this rigging that looks to be in the middle of the 195 is what they would use to tie down the shipping containers that eventually go on top of them.
Yeah.
So you can use it, it's an either-or situation, but they're all designed the same way. Because when you're counting kind of like the panels of the ships, and how it kind of matches up, they're all the same. They are, well, militaristically uniform. Yeah.
Actually, we do notice in the very back that one that does have the cargo containers on top of it, right above 195, does not have that con tower on top. The one that was ripped off, that may have been ripped off in that one may be the Roger Young, actually.
Huh, maybe.
Which actually does kind of come into a little bit of a blooper later on in this minute, if that's the case. But it's either a blooper or it is going to be a different variation of the ship. It looks like most of these Corvettes do have that little con tower at the very top, though. Like, you know, the five that are in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 6. The 6 that we can see do have that. The 5 out of the 6 that we see on here do have that con tower on top. So that may be the Roger Young. It may not be.
I also see 2 different types of ships here. 2 other types of ships.
Yes, those should be the, what are they called? The auxiliary ships.
I thought the auxiliary ships had like kind of the arm on the back.
They do, but the one that's right underneath, like at the very, very front, the kind of weird looking one, that is an auxiliary ship that is full of cargo.
Okay, but at 5912, there's one to the right, kind of like greenish, and there's another one to it, a little bit further back. It looks like just a pod type ship.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering what it is. I mean, I can trust Matt's judgment. He's definitely scoured the internet to try and find multiple, um, like a ship itinerary or list, like a docking itinerary for anything that's a ship related here in Starship Troopers. And if you can't find it, then I would assume that there was no information.
Well, it's also because I probably could have been a little bit lazy about it too. But
No, I'm gonna go
it.
by the fact that you did your due diligence and you just couldn't find it. Much like the old Yellow Pages commercials, if it's not here, it doesn't exist.
Okay.
So the name doesn't exist.
Nope. Well, I've been looking up different ships on there too. I really could not find anything else besides the different ships, like the Athena class, the Roger Young and everything, the Corvette class, skimmers, Thunderbolts and whatnot, and everything like that too. So I can't find anything about it. I mean, there's really not that much on there besides the unofficial wiki.
Yeah. So either you can update it yourself, Matt, or
I can name them myself.
Yeah.
Ooh.
There you go. So we're at 59:15, where it seems like the troopers get these kind of like a buckle in type thing on their shoulders. I mean, it's not a seatbelt, but I guess it's to keep them from jostling around too much.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look very comfortable. And you see at like 59:17 a very, very nervous Diz about the jump.
So before that, we actually see Rico at 59:16, 59:15, and this is the image that you get when you see any of those internet memes that say "desire to know more intensifies." I actually have a personal one that I have that it is a GIF version of it, and it shakes.
Oh, rad!
Intending to like making it more like a I need to know kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dizzy gives Rico a thumbs up, smiles a little bit. Rico gives her a big smile back. But I do notice that there is an antenna coming out of Diz's back of her backpack.
Kill it, Diz. It's on you. It's a bug.
Nah.
That's
well, I mean, I was thinking when you just said that right now, I thought about that Doctor Who episode of the bug on Donna Noble's back.
Which episode was that?
It was the one where she was planning on doing one thing, but then she actually went left instead of right, and it changed like her whole entire thing.
That's right.
And she could see the bug, but only in her peripheral vision and whatnot. It was just invisible all the time.
Yeah. So it's like whenever she would turn. Man. Yeah. Well, there was a lot of great episodes with Doctor Who.
I like Donna. I just didn't like Donna, you know?
She was like that, though. Like, she wasn't the best companion, but she was a memorable companion. That when she came back, she was actually useful again.
Yeah.
Because I hated her, but at the same time, she actually was a good companion. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
She's one of those.
At 59:20, we get an outside view of the Vikings along their ship, the major Corvette. I'm sorry, the big Corvette. And they're being released. They look like they're being released via exploding bolts.
It looks like on that scene where you get to see the back of the Viking, there's that symbol that I thought was really cool on the inside.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a marking of like that's what it's used for. I don't know. Like this is where soldiers go type symbol.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Vikings themselves look like multi-purpose dropships as well, too. Like, they could have cargo or personnel on them.
So maybe it's like that symbol is like, oh, this is the, like, if they're saying, like, you get on this Viking and attach this type of box to it. And then it's either going to be personnel carrier or equipment carry.
Yeah. So in the troop carrier version of this are able to hold up to 40 mobile infantry troopers into battle. So, saying maybe like each trooper is maybe 150 pounds, they can carry a lot of people, a lot of poundage. So they can definitely carry a lot of cargo as well too.
I think it's minimal 150. Because I'm willing to bet that Casper is like probably like close to like 180, 190 at this point.
You saying that Dizzy is somewhere between like 145 and 150?
Possibly.
That's a lot of woman.
She's tall though.
Okay, okay. And she is muscled up as well too.
Yeah, and you also got well, there's also the gear that they're carrying.
True, that's true. So like including their weight, they'd probably be around like 210 then, because it's about maybe like 70 or 80 pounds of rack of kit. So
Yeah, so guesstimate that average probably close to 200 pounds per person times 40 would
mm-hmm.
be 8,000?
That makes a little sense.
Wait, yeah, 8,000 pounds.
So about 4 tons then. 4 tons for each Viking is not bad actually.
No. I guess it was just the going in to the atmosphere would just probably be the worst part of whoever has to pilot this versus the drop ship.
So
there's not as much gravity.
It depends on actually going into the atmosphere. So going into the atmosphere on any atmospheric planet like Earth, Mars, what have you, anything that has an atmosphere is going to be hard to do, just because if you're going so fast, basically the whole entire thing of going into the atmosphere is it's harmful, because you're going so fast that the particles in the air are heating up as you hit them. Basically, kinetic energy, it gets so bad that it heats up your ship. You can bypass this by going slower. So like a normal like a spaceship, like a say the space shuttle, it actually goes in at an attack angle where it pretty much glides through the atmosphere. While say the Falcon 9 Heavy, the Falcon 9 ship, the booster, it actually slows down. It about faces, does a burn, and then re-enters without even having to burn up at all. So it just basically, the slower you go through the atmosphere, the more you don't have to burn up at all. You don't have to have any heat shielding or anything like that. The dropships on these ones, the Vikings probably do enter the atmosphere pretty slow, so you don't have that whole entire heat buildup.
So, it's definitely taken me a while to get the idea of how gravity wells work. Best way I explained it to someone, it's kind of like standing still but jumping onto a treadmill that's already going.
Yes.
But I know I've been pushing this on you, and I'm definitely going to bring this up again.
Okay.
The Orville. You haven't seen it.
Nope.
But there's a recent episode that all of a sudden made me realize what you're talking about gravity wells. And like, I didn't think about it, but then when I thought about it, like, oh my God, that's exactly how it works. Especially when we were talking about how people jump from, like they jump to light speed and land in a certain point.
Yeah.
All right, so they're in open space, and there's supposed to be some sort of distortion, so they take a shuttle to try and read what the distortion is saying. Or like read the distortion, like kind of observe. And this is only 10 minutes into this is the season finale, but it's only 10 minutes in and there's no spoilers in this.
Okay.
So they're just out there, and all of a sudden a planet appears. So it seems like this planet goes through it's in another dimension, but every 11 days or something like that, it reappears into their space, and then it disappears again. But because that planet all of a sudden appeared, the shuttle just gets brought down to the surface really fast.
Yeah.
So that's how the jump speed actually works. And it just didn't dawn on me when I watched that episode that that's actually what it was. Like, that's exactly how gravity wells work. Because all of a sudden that Earth appeared, and they get pulled down, and it works. It's kind of the reverse of what we've been talking about in a way. It's just now the Earth appeared in the atmosphere, and they appeared in the atmosphere. It works the same way as jumping into warp speed and appearing in another Earth's atmosphere.
Good job, man. You got it.
Yeah. Orville. It's a show by Seth MacFarlane. It's smart. I've been pushing it on you. It's actually good, but see, there's science behind it, Matt.
I guess. I mean, I just watched a video about how critics absolutely hate it, but viewers actually love it. I may go into it, but I just haven't had the time to watch anything else besides Starship Troopers and The Crown. I mean, I've been heavy into The Crown, man.
How many corgis have you seen in The Crown yet?
Too many. I love them.
Aw.
They're adorable.
But yeah, the season's already ended, but it's definitely been one of my favorite shows this season.
I'll look into it. I'll try to pick it up. I mean, if that's going to be, you're definitely pushing it, and I mean, you've been telling me multiple episodes. I think I got to do it now.
Yeah.
But we get a little bit of a the ships are moving down. Johnny's ship is his Viking is flying over another ship. And this is where I was saying this might be a blooper or a continuity error, because what they're flying over is the old 176 Roger Young. That's Carmen's Corvette, and it looks like it has that con tower on top of it. The one that was blown off or sheared off by the asteroid. So either the one that we saw in the previous scene with the other Corvettes was the Roger Young and they hadn't repaired it, or this is the actual Roger Young and they had repaired it. It's one or the other. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if there's any other ship here that doesn't have a comm tower.
Every single one does. Like, every single one, since I've seen them, has them.
Unless it's the ship that they're on that doesn't have a comm tower.
So, it may be. I don't know. But who knows? But we also see what Carl was talking about in the script. Bug plasma. It's coming up.
Yeah, and it's actually also coming up on the captain's screen, the Lydia.
Oh, yes. We get Carmen once again. She says, bug plasma, ma'am. I'm sorry, bug batteries from the planet, ma'am. And Deladier says, it's going to be random and light from military intelligence, so steady as she goes.
I guess they're not quite sure which type of plasma they're actually supposed to be keeping an eye on, if this is something they've been seeing for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it has had no effect on what they've been observing until now.
That's the thing. So it's probably just like the same thing as this. Actually, the scene reminds me I'm actually at 5954, with Carmen on the left and Xander on the right with, the other ships in there. This reminds me so much of like any kind of World War II documentary where they have bombers or anything going over Germany. And you see like the flak, the explosions of the flak blowing up in front of them and everything like that. This completely and totally reminds me of that. And it would kind of act the same way. Their bug plasma is flak, basically.
Yeah.
Anti-aircraft.
One of the things that I noticed that I guess it's a little bit of a goof, but maybe not. At about 59:35 or 36, where you get to a look into Delidier's screen,
mm-hmm.
where she's watching the plasma basically come up on the screen. It's going from the bottom left corner to the top right corner on our monitor.
Mm-hmm.
But the nearest plasma that actually goes near him comes from what looks like directly blown to the top left. And there's none that actually goes across the bow.
So not until 59:52, because there's a few of them that come up right above Carmen's head. So maybe what she has right there is like predicted, trajectory of the plasma that's coming up.
Okay, so maybe one that's coming by later on that it's just going to miss on the right-hand side.
That's what I'm thinking, yeah.
Which is the one that she's seeing right there. Okay,
mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Carmen looks a little bit confused, not confused, but she looks a little bit worried when she sees all those plasmas come up. And then, Deladier just say, steady as she goes, number 2. And she nods and she's like, oh, okay, are you sure? Oh, okay. The captain does ask also during the scene, Xander, what's the drop status? And he says that it is, I believe, 42% complete. And then we get the last scene of this minute. We get the Vikings entering the atmosphere, and they are dodging plasma. And that's going to be the end of this minute, actually.
Yeah, it looks like, the entire scene is, just like the previous minute, the entire scene of everything is more intense than what's actually able to be conveyed on a podcast.
Yeah.
The music is still super good. As I said before in a previous minute, it's influenced by Gustav Holst, The Planet. Definitely worth listening to. But yeah, it looks like not a lot happens here, other than seeing the plasma coming up, and there's still no explanation at this point what the plasma is going to do at
Yeah.
this minute.
We haven't seen anything happen with a ship and plasma, like when they come into contact, so we don't know what's happening. As I said, I'm assuming it's pretty much just like anti-aircraft, because I mean, it just looks exactly like that.
Yeah.
I actually have a special treat for you guys. I'm actually going to be reading an excerpt from the book, actually. The first chapter of Starship Troopers by Robert A. Heinlein. This is going to be the part where Johnny drops himself from the Roger Young. He's actually in the Roger Young in the book. This is an excerpt from Robert A. Heinlein's Starship Troopers. It is better after you unload. Until you do, you sit there in total darkness, wrapped up like a mummy against the acceleration, barely able to breathe, and knowing that there is just nitrogen around you at the capsule, even if you could get your helmet open, which you cannot, and knowing that the capsule is surrounded by the firing tube anyhow, and if the ship gets hit by fire, you haven't got a prayer. You just die there, unable to move, helpless. It's the endless weight in the darkness that causes the shakes, thinking that they've forgotten you. The ship has been hulled, stayed in orbit, dead, and soon you'll buy it too. Unable to move, choking, or it's a crash orbit, and soon you'll buy it that way, if you don't roast the way down. Then the ship's braking program hits us and we stop shaking. 8 Gs, I would say, maybe 10. When a female pilot handles this ship, there is nothing comfortable about it. You're going to have bruises every place you're strapped in. Yes, I know, they make better pilots than men do. Their reaction times are faster, and they can tolerate more Gs. They can get in faster, get out faster, and thereby improve everybody's chances, yours as well as theirs. But that doesn't make it fun by getting slammed against your spine at 10 times your proper weight. But I must admit, Captain Deladier knows her trade. There was no fiddling around once the Roger Young stopped braking. At once I heard her snap, centerline tube, fire! And there were 2 recoil bumps, as Jelly and his acting platoon sergeant unloaded immediately. Port and starboard tubes, automatic fire! And the rest of us started to unload. Bump! And your capsule jerks ahead. 1. Bump! And it jerks again, precisely like cartridges feeding into the chamber in an old-styled automatic weapon. Well, that's just what we were. Only the barrels of the gun were twin launching tubes built into the spaceship troop carrier. Each cartridge was a big capsule, just big enough, just barely, to hold an infantryman with his field equipment. Bump. I was used to be numbing 3 spots out early, but now I was tail end. Last out of 3 squads. It made a tedious wait, even with the capsule being fired every second. I tried to count the bumps. Bump, 12, bump, 13, bump, 14, with an odd sound to it, the empty one. Jenkins had been in, bump, and clang. It was my turn. The capsule slams into the firing chamber and whambo! The explosion hits with a force that makes the captain's braking maneuver feel like a love tap. Then suddenly nothing. Nothing at all. No sound. No pressure, no weight. Floating in darkness, free fall, maybe 30 miles up, above the effective atmosphere, falling weightlessly towards the surface of a planet you've never seen. But I'm not shaking now. It's the weight beforehand that wears. Once you've unloaded, you can't get hurt. Because if anything goes wrong, it will happen so fast that you'll buy it without even noticing. And that's it. Yeah, so in the book, instead of doing dropships, they're loaded into, as I said before, ODS-style capsules. They can't see anything out of it, and they get fired out like a gun. So it just goes, and everything. But I decided to do that because that's their version of the drop, and this is Verhoeven's version of the drop.
Well, I mean, I can understand why he had the like it sound like guns is because they had parachutes. This one they're landing in with gigantic marauders, so they need a bit more like something to soften their descent.
Yeah, in the book, because parachutes don't work on like non-atmosphere planets, they actually have drop jets on the pods themselves that slow them down, and then they have jets on their Marauder suits as well too, so they can go in without parachutes if need be.
Okay.
It's pretty cool. But that's where we're gonna end, guys.
Okay. So where can they find you, Matt?
They can find me at Alt10Matt pretty much anywhere on the internet. LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. Yeah, I'll be on our Facebook group, guys. Come give me a message. I'll definitely talk to you guys.
Okay, and you guys can also follow me on Twitch and Instagram at JDASHD26. You can also find me on Twitter at OMG It's Johann. You can follow us on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and YouTube. Please like and subscribe, rate and review us wherever it's needed, and please do. Visit our website at theroughneckminute.podbean.com for show notes and back episodes. Follow us also on Twitter at roughneckmin, and you can also continue the conversation on our Facebook group, the Roughneck Minute Billet. I've been your host, Johann.
And I've been your other host, Matthew.
And we'll see you on the bounce, troopers.